Okay, the land bridge. It has been a region from time immemorial, from when man unkind first left the African plains and migrated upwards to and through the land bridge into Europe and Asia, of different ethnic people who didn't like each other and who contested with each other over the territorial imperative of birds, beasts, and tribal chiefs, by virtue of the Darwinian principle of survival of the fittest, through the use of arms, ploy, and wanton cruelty. The Taliban Shura Court of Justice. Under the Taliban, if you play chess, are late to mosque for prayers, fly a kite, play music or watch TV, laugh in public, or own a canary, you can be detained. If your beard is not long enough to go around one of the fists when you are subject, then you are subject to public beatings and for your Friday night entertainment provided by the Department for the Propagation of Virtue and the Suppression of Vice. You are cordially invited, nay required, to attend the Kabul Sports Stadium to witness beatings, floggings, stonings, shootings, hangings, beheadings, and amputations performed by well-trained and dedicated armed men to a throng of 30,000 spectators, mostly widows whose husbands have been lost to war. Women under the Taliban. If you're a woman, it is even worse. Schools are closed, schools are bombed. Only education up to age 8 allowed and restricted to the Quran. Health care closed, professional careers closed. Women who had been nurses and teachers are now virtually under house arrest and begging in the streets. Women must be covered from head to toe wearing burqas or face beatings. Women are not allowed to wear white socks or white shoes, nor make noises when they walk. Houses and buildings in public view must have their windows painted over if females are present. Where do we draw the line between the religion of Islam and the terrorist bombings in the name of Allah? Saturday morning cartoons, the double whammy. I like the one where they blow somebody up in the crowd, and when the people come running to help the dying and the maimed, they push a second button and blow them up too. That one's really funny, like the Keystone's Cop during America silent film era. Or when they blow them up at a funeral, it saves a lot of time and expense. Or like a barker on a side street who drives up to a van and tells the guys to step right up if you want to work for the day, and then blows them up. That's a lot of fun too, and would make Tom and Jerry and Tweety Bird and Sylvester the cat. Or the toss salad, one where they blow up mothers and children in the market for a gourmet complet, sprinkled with light coat of blood for seasoning and served with sweetbread for dinner. A midwife named Virginia. Today I fell in love with a young woman named Erin. She is unique, though I don't know why. She came over and sat at a table in front of me, and when she looked up, I stole a few glances. She was a big female who wore a big, simple dress with bare arms and plain, simple manner, and with a visage that showed no sign of social pretense, but bespoke of holy innocence. Though smart enough as people go, she exuded a wisdom born of time, like a field of grain in a good year. And with the rhythms of the earth, like the dress she wore. I waited for the next table to clear, And then another 10 minutes before I got up to go over to the counter, passing her table en route. On the way back, I stopped and asked her if she was a writer. She answered, yes, that she wrote, but not the work in front of her. Then I asked her her name and where she came from, and she said her name was Erin and that she was from Virginia. And then I asked her what she did, and she said she was a farmer and she was studying to be a midwife. The elephant seals. The beach master battles on the beach for the bitches. So dynasties are laid, the Shang followed by the Chu. Virginia. Saw Erin again in the cafe, whom I call Virginia, because she's from Virginia, and I don't like the name Erin for a female. She wore a brown sleeveless dress, the color of mud, the Madonna of mud, that made me feel like she was sprang from the earth full-born, and that if you ever entered her eyes, and you could get lost in the wonder of her eyes, sky blue eyes, you were obliterated from all previous incarnations and surrendered yourself to eternity. Ginsberg, Genesis, and in the beginning. A moment with Allen Ginsberg while riding the number 12 bus. And when am I going to get the break that turns everybody's snickers to, I told you so, and I knew him when? And when am I going to get the break before my eyeballs explode from sudden enlightenment and I shit through my ears because my asshole don't work anymore? And when am I going to be discovered before my neuropathy twists my peripheral limbs into knots my grandma couldn't get out? And I have to get around on stumps so I can make the Jesus movie in Juarez I wanted to make. And when am I going to be discovered so I can eat pie a la mode in fancy restaurants, catch a glimpse of Paris Hilton before she became incarcerated, or J.Lo before she met Mark Anthony? And when am I going to get the break before the world drowns on the brink of annihilation, before we push the button once and for all and put an end to this Greek tragedy? And when am I going to be discovered before they find out the moon really is made of green cheese and that Mars is really red because it has been staying up too late studying for its bar exam? And when am I going to get my break when I astound the scientific community and grow my third set of teeth all pearly white so I can bite the testicles off the politicians? And when am I going to be discovered so I can discover America again like Walt Whitman and his Leaves of Grass and Jack Kerouac on the road, and end up living with my mother? And when I am going to be when am I going to be discovered so I can discover manna from heaven and slay St. George and the dragon in the halls of power, whether political or religious? And when am I going to get the break so that my life existence radiates a beatific vision, even in its near end, if it's in its near end like a horse heading down the home stretch? And I am cast from the shackles of consciousness. And when am I going to be discovered by I am too old to believe in miracles and walk on water like Jesus did? And before my cerebral cortex can no longer convince me from the heresy of disbelief? And when am I going to be discovered to tell the world that the world really isn't worth it, and that life is a failed experiment in which I don't want to lose my place in line, or I can't buy a free ticket, I can't buy a ticket? Or when am I going to be discovered?